Thursday, the 24th of November. Thank you for watching Smart 24. My name is Chantal Akanida, and on sign language is Winnie Wiza Nakauchi, and we are here with our business today. In our stories tonight, the Boda Boda riders have been urged to resume acquisition of the required riding skills with effect from Monday, November 28th, scheduled to run for a month. Now, each rider will be required to train for 6 days at a cost of 60,000, and this will be conducted by a list of 9 private driving schools, as per the Minister of State for Kampala Metropolitan Affairs, Honorable Kabuyecho Fatogabye. Desire Nambiru has the details.
The proposed Boda Boda registration, which got underway earlier this year with the goals of regulating Boda Boda operations in Kampala, has supported the act. The government has once more taken the efforts to provide the essential training for the potential stakeholders in order to ensure its dependability. The Minister of State for Kampala, Kabuyecho Fatogabye, has republicized this exercise and clarified the costs associated with the riders' skill development.
Now, Minister of Works, KCCA and the police shall make further guidance on how and where the training will take place, especially the venues and the timing, because also we've designed the curriculum in such a way that we shall be engaging these riders during the off-peak hours. We want them to continue making money as long as they qualify, but then off-peak hours, we engage you. So a day they can design for 3 hours or 4 hours, depending on how they will fit. But that one will be communicated, I think, from 28th this month. Then the training will not be free. I repeat, the training is not going to be free. This is a school. You've come to acquire knowledge. If you think knowledge is expensive, go and try ignorance. Police will donate you.
The cost is going to be subsidized, and tentatively we fixed it as 60,000 for the 6-day training session. But along the way, if need arises to reduce this cost, then we can revise it accordingly. But so far, that's the cost which we fixed or attached to this training.
According to the KCCA census, there are over 60,000 riders operating in Kampala as a whole, but only 10,500 of them took part in the most recent training exercise, leaving the majority behind. The government hopes to create a favorable environment for them to operate by retaining them.
That were trained 10,500. Those are the previous trained people. And indeed, if you are observant enough on the road, that's why there has been some bit of manners. Whenever you find them, for them they somehow adhere and obey the rules, because they are still fresh from the school. And if you took an initiative and you went to where the junction boxes are, those are the people you see stopping before the junction box. Then these other ones, they just come anyhow.
The Traffic and Road Safety Act, which governs all acts regarding all motor vehicles, which similarly regulates KCCA to designate stages, has clearly outlined the roadmap for registration of Boda Bodas and training as well.
Been inspected, and we've obviously coordinated. We're going to have one-stop centers where possible. So right now, starting 28th of that is Monday, 28th of November, the trainings will commence at various locations. And during this period, we expect riders to, of course, participate in the training exercise, but also we are hopeful that they will proceed to rectify any errors they have. For example, we know that many people don't know that a Boda Boda is supposed to have a number plate with a white background. We expect them to make corrections to these areas.
As the second largest employer of youth, not just in Kampala but throughout Uganda, the Boda Boda sector is a huge economic force. However, despite the fact that Boda Boda transportation is essential for avoiding traffic congestion, getting too difficult to reach the areas, and getting people and products where they need to go quickly and cheaply, the industry is generally unregulated and is linked to problems with safety and security for both riders and passengers. Desire Nambiru, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Desire Nambiru, for that report. Now, if you think knowledge is expensive, try ignorance, says Honorable Kawiye. Moving on from that, we move on to our next story. Now, the Uganda Institute of Information and Communications Technology officials have stunned the Committee of Public Accounts by revealing that the government has not funded them for more than 7 years, and this has definitely affected their performance for the 2020 financial year. Now, Samula Hanifa with the report.
The authorities, who are joined by the institution's principal, Mr. Frederick Togo, appeared to explain why the institution underperformed for the year 2020 and why it is understaffed despite the fact that science is prioritized in this country.
You can see that the institute is grossly understaffed and has been from the word go. It is actually malnourished. And over that, we want to interact with the ministry to tell us why they established this institute without providing for funds for it.
The principal explained to the committee members in their response that their institute has not received funding for more than 7 years and that this funding has been accompanied by the effect of COVID-19, which prevented them from realizing fee collections, as well as dilapidated infrastructure that they have had to renovate in stages because they have been using the same buildings since 1962.
Revenue, the revenue for the institution. Once we have the revenues, and that was one of the reasons that stopped the governing council from having freezing recruitments and conducting a natural study. So, but once we have the revenue in place coming in, then we shall have a full establishment for the staff.
The lawmakers have requested that the Ministry of Education appear before the committee and explain why it is not funding science school, despite the fact that this nation places a high priority on science and technology.
For 7 years, the government was not giving money to this institute, and yet they are telling us they are prioritizing science and innovation. Now you get a science and ICT-based institute like this one, and you do not give them money. It's very disturbing.
But this landing point, there's like a framework. You have given a framework, you have given guidelines, restrictions, you have given laws to be followed, but you're not funding. They don't have any voting line. They don't have anything to that nature. To the extent that it's like even these guys work without understanding what will be next. So by meeting them, it is like we should have to find out how can we make them be effective in their works.
Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Now, to lay out the guidance on how petroleum revenues will be apportioned between budget operations and the Petroleum Investment Reserve, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has launched the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility and Fiscal Role for Uganda's Oil Resources. This will broaden consensus on government's fiscal policy objectives, lay a foundation for accountability, promote openness and transparency of government's policies regarding the use of petroleum revenue. Ronan Ahawe brings us the report.
All right, Dr. Albert, thank you very much, Prof. So, Dr. Albert, you can give us guidance.
Oil production revenue has the potential to significantly boost economic activity, and with careful management might result in greater rate of sustainable economic growth. And for this reason, the Ministry of Finance promises to follow the Charter's guidelines in order to achieve financial responsibility and debt sustainability.
A charter is a kind of a commitment by the ruling government that we shall live within these means. that in terms of expenditure, we shall make sure that we are able to balance our revenues with the borrowing to this magnitude. So that's what the Charter is doing, to make sure that we don't move out of those limits that can cause havoc to the economy. So that's what we are doing. It's actually about revenue, expenditure, management, and ensuring that as we spend, we do not go beyond. First, when we talk about the fiscal rule, we are simply saying that you will have a budget of so much money. For instance, we now have a budget of 48 trillion shillings. Now, out of that budget, when we talk about a fiscal deficit, we are talking about the difference between the budget and what you are able to raise as revenue. So raising revenue is actually, those are our resources as government. Those are the resources we have as a government. Now, beyond that, beyond the revenue, if you have a budget of 48 and you are able to raise only 25 trillion shillings in terms of revenue, the import of that is that you have 13 trillion shillings that you might have to borrow. Make sure you implement your budget. Now, that 13 trillion shillings is expressed in terms of the GDP. And so you have the fiscal deficit.
The strengthened fiscal frameworks, as mandated by the Public Finance Management Act 2015, necessitate new components of fiscal policy management, such as numerical split between oil revenues directed towards the budget spending against the oil revenues channeled towards the saving in the Petroleum Revenue Fund.
I will answer this because we participated in the designing of the fiscal rule for the oil revenues. The way it's going to work, there is a petroleum fund, which is like a collecting fund or a holding fund. All the monies from oil and gas will go to that fund, but it is like a holding fund. When it reaches there, then it has to be distributed to either the budget or the infrastructure reserve fund. How much goes to the budget? It needs to be done carefully to avoid hitting the economy, distorting the economy. And so the rule is that the maximum you can transfer to the budget, to the consolidated fund, is 0.8% of the previous year's non-oil GDP outturn. It is very important that you target to your GDP, because
out of the expected $2.8 billion in oil earnings per year, 0.8% of the previous year's GDP will be allocated to budget finance, and this is how the oil money will be routed to budget financing versus the Petroleum Revenue Reserve. The graph below depicts oil revenue split between transfers to the budget and the price transfers to the previous fiscal year, with $55 as average of price of oil in GDP. Setting a reasonable amount on the budget's use of oil reserves will ensure enough savings are made during the prosperous periods, that is the peak production versus the high oil prices, hence reducing the potential pro-cyclical of these transfers to the budget. Rona Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Away from that, Kenya and Uganda tourism players have joined forces to boost economic opportunities, as well as to form relationships with major players in the tourism industries of Uganda and Kenya coast. Nearly 95,000 Kenyans visited Uganda for various reasons between January and March 2022. Because of many events that have been taking place in Kampala, there is a growing desire for Kenyan travelers to come to Uganda. Desire Nambiru has the details.
Comparatively to its neighbors, Uganda's tourism sector is still in its early stages. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, tourism expenditures have a direct impact on Uganda's GDP to the tune of 3.1%, as opposed to Tanzania's 4.8% and Kenya's 5%. Ugandan tourism, however, has a promising future. As a result of the recent Coastal Tourism Expo in Kenya, the Kenya Coastal Tourism Authority has started a cooperation with Uganda tourism key players to improve the performance of the industry.
A source market for tourism in the coast, and it has not been reciprocal.
we have not been sending a lot of people to Uganda as we should. Mainly because really our people did not know much about Uganda as much as the Ugandans knew about Kenya. Kenya has become a big destination for weddings and Ugandans have come here where we sell the beach and the safari destination. But Uganda has offers that you can never get to in Kenya. What we have is, what we agreed is let us complement one another and sell the destination of East Africa. So we are looking at now sending business from Uganda, from Kenya to Uganda as well.
The Private Sector Foundation, an Apex organization, has also backed this collaboration and committed to cooperating with the industry until performance is tripled. This in turn necessitates that private companies under the East African Tourism Platform to support a regional drive to promote the several nations of East Africa as a single tourism destination.
This kind of experience primarily because we don't only want to market Uganda as a tourist destination, but as East Africa. As you well know, there is a lot we share as the East African community, and much of our trade is within East Africa, and tourism is really the core at that. For instance, slightly over 63% of our tourists in Uganda come from Kenya. So, and as you know, there are special tourist destinations we have here in Uganda that are not in Kenya. The experience we can really sell to the tourists who come to Kenya. And as you know, we are moving towards an arrangement of having a single tourist visa for East Africa. So this is one of the steps towards really having East Africa as one tourist destination. And as you know, in the region, Kenya is one of the major players when it comes to tourism. And we hope, beginning with the coastal region, but also to the rest of Kenya. And given the fact that already we have Uganda Airlines flying into Mombasa 2 times a week, we have KQ flying into Uganda. It's one way we can really harness the opportunity to grow our tourism sector. But also the tourism sector is one of the major youth employers. So that's why, for instance, as PSFU, we are partnering with the enhancing lead farm structure for youth employment, to make sure that we create youth jobs within the tourism space.
About 667,600 people work in the tourism and hospitality industry, with 90% of them employed in the hospitality industry. This industry accounts for about 6.7% of all jobs in the country. The local tour providers will be made aware of potential advantages through this program.
Very well positioned to gain a lot from this business because we have a lot to complement on the Kenyan business already. They already have a rich destination, have thousands and thousands of tourists coming to Mombasa. We just need to add on something to them so that they can be able to come to Uganda. So the Ugandan tour operators will be the ones to benefit more than actually the Kenyan side, because we have something we need to add on to their packages already. But also number two, we're going to develop new packages together so that we look at how many days should one stay in Kenya, how many days should one stay in Uganda, so that we have everybody getting involved in this very good itinerary.
With a view of raising the sector's visibility even further, Uganda and Kenya are currently concentrating on utilizing the tourism-related assets. Kenya has a diverse coastline, historical monuments, national parks, and maritime heritage. Uganda is known for its extensive tourist attractions, wildlife, bird species, and dozens of fresh variations. Desire Nambiru, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Desire Nambiru, for that report. Now, we all do know that in 2020, Uganda was listed by Bloomberg as one of the fastest growing economies around the world. Now, Uganda, which has a strong entrepreneurial culture, particularly among women, is just one of those nations in the world to have reached gender balance, and that is in terms of the proportion of women who are motivated to engage in entrepreneurial activities. With the reopening of the economy, female company owners have been urged to advance and seize opportunities by taking their companies to the next level. Naomi Mutumba has the report.
Small and medium enterprises in Uganda make up at least 70% of the economy and 20% of the GDP, despite the fact that female entrepreneurs own at least 31% of all SMEs that are registered. However, they continue to struggle with problems, including the fact that they are concentrated in industries that took a lot of the economic downturn's toll. Finding a market for their goods is still hindering them. Elizabeth Sempewa, the director of Naja Women's Health Empowerment, claims that as a result, business women have developed fresh solutions to overcome such obstacles and expand their customer base by performing women's organizations that promote economic empowerment.
Initiative came to, firstly, to solve the challenge of women not being employed. And the fact that women can be able to group themselves in a number of groups, that means they can be able to learn from each other and be able to make certain items which can be sold as a group of Naja. So one, economic empowerment. Two, the problem of solving employment. And three, working from our own vicinity, working from home. Most of these products are made not from Kampala, not from the trading centers, but mostly from our localities, where groups of women can be able to gather and be able to make one or two items which they would like to sell as a group.
We registered, but so what? But if you register, we need you to come back home. This is our home. We need to move together with the journey we started together. So I call upon everybody out there, if you know you registered with Naja, please come. I have your IDs here. I have everything. Some of you who came, the others even came and paid membership, and they didn't even fill in membership form.
With the reopening of the economy, women entrepreneurs need to level up and take advantage of opportunities to propel their businesses to the next level. This can be achieved through training on how to market products, skilling, and as well as saving to acquire assets like land and housing.
We train women groups. We are also looking at children who are leaving schools. So far we have trained about 150, but we are in the process of training more.
To identify our own land, because land is so expensive around here, but we have managed to identify about three different areas land which we can use in our housing project. This housing project, what we are looking at is the land which we are going to get is going to house over 80 homes or even 100 homes.
This is our own capital. Women bring in shares, then we invest in that share, we buy the raw materials, now we sell the product. When we sell, every person who invested in the profits we get, we give them 50% of their shares, you can imagine. So in this very, very savings box, whatever profit we make for you, we add on your savings. So by the end of the year, you can get $1 million unknowingly, because we recycle the production, we look for market, even we sell locally. Having a base of like 500 women in the group, that is an already market.
Women's economic empowerment refers to their capacity to exercise their legal entitlement to control and profit from their property, income and free time, as well as their capacity to manage risk and raise their economic position and well-being. Participating in home planning and allocating funds to make improvements is one method of empowering women. Naomi Mutumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Naomi Mutumba, for that report, and that leads us to the end of the first half of our Business Today. We'll be right back after the short break.
Smart 24, driving business.
Futinbuto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
This is Doha, this is Qatar. We come together tonight, 1 billion of us, in every corner of the globe where the beautiful game matters.
Here for the show-stopping magic of a moment.
Get a DSTV decoder at only 79,000 shillings with 1 month free on access and upgrade to DSTV Compact for 56,000 shillings to enjoy all 64 matches.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brew age. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
Wanugwameka bongedde mu bitano boss
Chikole for less akona hustle no stress whether night or day tuli okay wanga tuli ku flexible.
Don't hustle to pay the bills. Send or receive money. Chikole for less. Neflexi pay. Hold it.
Chikole for less with FlexiPay. Dial *291# to transact or download the FlexiPay app to get started. Stanbic Bank. It can be. Stanbic Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda up to 10 million shillings.
Smart 24, driving business.
After past the hour of 9 p.m. You're still watching Business Today, and we are continuing with our stories. Now, despite the great efforts made by stakeholders to raise awareness, Uganda's poor climate continues to be a major challenge when it comes to economic development. Now, this has prompted the International University of East Africa to go ahead and empower its students by having them develop environmental conservation programs. Nachiganda Gority has the report.
Everyone will agree with me that perhaps the greatest challenge to humanity is environmental climate change. The world is facing many challenges, including floods, and of course the recent emerging and re-emerging diseases.
Students have been empowered to kickstart the revolution of a pollution-free environment under the theme, Education for Climate Change Action. This action attempts to protect the forest, the land, and aquatic life, among other things. Plastic recycling is one of those on which the institution has focused, citing serious issues caused by plastics in the soil.
We are training over 300 students every year in the art of recycling, so that we can collect all the waste that is littering the streets, plugging the drains, and causing dangerous conditions for people. We are channeling all those things towards creating new solutions using plastic waste.
Food security is another aspect that is thought to be solved as Uganda, specifically the Karamoja region, has for many years dealt with a food crisis, leading to malnutrition and death of over 900 people.
Today, we signed the Memorandum of Understanding with Lusitana University, because agriculture is a big thing. When we talk about climate change and food insecurity, it means we have to come up with new ways of farming, because today the weather is unpredictable. We need new technologies, like what I have outlined earlier, the electric tractor and the new things. On the side of seedlings, there is new technology that will enable seedlings to grow in a drought condition.
The colonial education system needs to be contested in order to develop students who can deal with African realities and handle real-life challenges. Nearly 80% of university graduates suffer from functional illiteracy, which is a hidden catastrophe brought on by a system that fails to give students the necessary skills for a rapidly changing world, which in turn inhibits innovation and creativity.
We believe that a reform in our training system to be able to transit from knowledge-based training to industrial production will be the solution and the eventual true liberation of Africa.
Students, especially those that leave the university, are therefore urged to be creative and open to learning in order to contribute and elevate the country's economic base.
Continue to improve your skills. First, education is only the beginning of training.
If the repercussions of climate change are not quickly addressed by all of us, our future is in jeopardy. The importance of education in reducing climate change and preparing for it justifies its inclusion in all education levels. Margaret Nachiganda, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Mary Gerety, for that report. Now, moving on, as a means of promoting trade and quality products within the East African region, East Africa Brand Quality Awards have been instituted to impact and encourage quality improvements in both manufacturing as well as service sectors in East Africa. The award was held under the theme Innovation Through Quality, Creating New Value for the World. The awards are a showcase of brands that have had a positive impact on the economic landscape of the East African region. Naomi has the details.
The East Africa Brand Quality Awards are intended to promote innovation, encourage the use of locally produced goods, and honor the efforts made by diverse companies across a range of economic sectors to satisfy customer demand. According to Amelia Chambade, brands must concentrate on standardizing their products in order to provide high-quality goods and services.
Talking about standards, because we are here because of standards, I'm pleased to note that the East Africa Brand Quality Awards recognizes quality of goods, but also services. UNBS currently has over 4,500 standards covering all sectors of the economy: food and agriculture, engineering and construction, chemicals and consumer products, management and services standards, and others. And most of these standards are internationally adopted and harmonized within East African community to facilitate regional and international trade.
Brands were reminded of their obligation to understand consumer demand and make an effort to adapt to changing circumstances in order to please consumers and stay relevant, as well as encouraging them to network and grow their brands.
The opportunities to unite us are always available. Opportunities like this are forums where we should not only pick our words, but network and make sure that we grow our brands together. We will not grow these brands in isolation and in competition. We will grow these brands through cooperation and meaningful opportunities like this. So I want to thank the organizers of the East African Quality Awards. We honor this award so much, and they mean a lot to us because they give confidence to us that we are moving towards the right direction.
The awards serve as a platform for companies that have improved the economic climate in the East African region. Brand winners that won the Quality Seal of Excellence were overjoyed to receive the accolades and treasured customer feedback before launching their products.
This brand in the Ugandan market is very high. We really appreciate our main consumers and our channel partners, which have been very supportive, starting with the distributor to the beauty shops to the salons. They have been very supportive, and so we look forward to more collaboration and support, and even the government giving us a very conducive environment to do the business in Uganda. We really appreciate it, and it means a lot for us.
Before we even go to the company, to me, as an individual, it means a lot because it is an appreciation by the consumers themselves to show quality, affordability, and availability of Indomie.
Efforts that are done by our manufacturing teams. Thank you, the manufacturing teams, for doing the wonderful job. Thanks a lot.
From the local community, and our customers are basically our local people from here. So what we do different is that we have made sure that quality is a must and a priority at Starbucks. Secondly, honesty. Charge affordable prices, take affordable margins back home.
Over 100 brands received awards at the second East Africa Brand Quality Awards for their high-quality goods and services across a variety of industries, services and business organizations, government and semi-government agencies, trade and professional associations, educational, healthcare and hospitality establishments, as well as independent service providers and professionals. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And this leads us to the end of our Business Today broadcast. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Chantal Akaninda and Winnie Wiza Nakauchi on sign language. Have yourselves a wonderful night. But before that, I would like to remind you that you can get us on GoTV, channel 394, and DSTV, channel 372 for good programming, especially about business. Good night.
Smart 24, driving business.
I'm there.
Chikole for less, hakuna hustle, no stress. Whether night or day, tulioke. Kubanga tuli ku FlexiPay. Pay bills for less, ku FlexiPay.
Don't hustle with queues, bills, receiving or sending money. Chikole for less. Ne FlexiPay. Hold it.
Chikole for less with FlexiPay. Dial *291# to transact or download the FlexiPay app to get started. Stanbic Bank. It can be. Stanbic Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda up to 10 million shillings.
Chinayuchinyumira. Whether it is Katogo, Chikomando, Rolex Majasa to Nyanyambisi. Man, wherever I am, I enjoy Chinayu with your TV channels on my phone.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you